Okay. Okay, so I thought I should start doing intros on my videos now. So here goes. I'm Brandy, I'm 16. I do audiobooks, and today I'm going to be reading The Mortal Instruments, Book 1, City of Bones. I am on chapter 4. I am on chapter 4. So I thought I should go back a page because I wasn't really sure where I left off. So I'm gonna go back in the middle of the page and I'm gonna redo the whole page. Please do not mind my hair. I don't know what's going on with it today. It just is just doing its own thing. Anyway, I'll start from Luke is not the landlord. Clary wanted to say, but didn't. This was typical. This was typical of her elderly. Still off today. Clary wanted to say, but didn't. This was typical of her elderly neighbor. Once she got Luke to come around and change the light bulb, she'd ask him to do 100 other things: pick up her groceries, grout her shower. Once she made him chop up an old sofa with an axe so she can get it out of the apartment without taking the door off the hinges. Clary sighed. I'll ask. You better. Dorothea snapped her fan shut with a flick of her wrist. Clary sensed that something was wrong. Clary's sense that something wrong only increased when she reached the apartment. It was unlocked, hanging slightly open, spilling a wedge-shaped shaft of light onto the landing. With a feeling of increasing panic, she pushed the door open. Inside the apartment, the lights were on, all the lamps, everything turned on to full brightness. The glow stabbed into her eyes. Her mother's keys and pink handbag were on a small wrought iron shelf by the door where she always left them. Mom, Clary called out. Mom, I'm home. There was no reply. She went into the living room. Both windows were open. Yards of gauzy white curtains blowing in the breeze like restless ghosts. Only when the wind dropped and the curtains settled did Clary see that the cushions had been ripped from the sofa and scattered around the room. Somehow, uh, somewhere, some were torn lengthwise, cotton ineared, spilling onto the floor. The bookshelves had been tipped over, their content scattered. The piano bench lay on its side, gaping open like a wound. I think it's wound. Yeah, like a wound. Jocelyn's beloved music books spewing out. Most terrifying were the paintings. Every single one had been cut from its frame and ripped into strips, which were scattered across the floor. It might have been. It might have just. It. It must have been done with a knife. Canvases were almost impossible to tear with your bare hands. The empty frames looked like bones picked clean. Clary felt a scream rising in her chest. Mom, she shrieked. Where are you, Mommy? She hadn't called Jocelyn Mommy since she was 8. Heart pumping, she raced into the kitchen. It was empty. The cabinet drawers open, a smashed bottle of Tabasco sauce spilling pepperly red liquid onto the linoleum. Her knees felt like bags of water. She knew she. I'm sorry, I'm taking the bookmark out. Um, like bags of water. She knew she should race out of the apartment, get a phone, call the police. But all those things seemed distant. She needed to find her mother first, needed to see that she was all right. What if robbers had come? What if her mother had put up a fight? What kind of robbers didn't take a wallet with them, or the TV, or the DVR, or the expensive laptops? She was at the door to her mother's bedroom now. For a moment it looked as if this room, at least, had been left untouched. Jocelyn's handmade flower quilt was folded carefully on the duvet. Not sure what that is. Duvet. Clary's own face smiled back at her from the top of the bedside table. 5 years old, gap tooth smile framed by strawberry hair. A sob rose in Clary's chest. Mom, she cried inside. What happened to you? Silence answered her. No, not silence. A noise sounded through the apartment, raising the short hairs along the nape of her neck like something been knocked over, a heavy object striking the floor with a dull thud. The thud was followed by a dragging, slithering noise, and it was coming toward the bedroom, stomach contracting in terror. Clary scrambled to her feet and turned around slowly. For a moment, she thought the doorway was empty, and she felt a wave of relief. Then she looked down. It was it was crouched against the floor, a long scaled creature with a cluster of flat black eyes set set dead center in the front of its domed skull, something like a cross between an alligator and a centipede. It had a thick flat snout and a barbed tail that whipped menacingly from side to side. Multiple legs bunched underneath it as it readied itself to spring. A shriek a shriek tore itself out of Clary's throat. I said Clary's throat. She staggered backwards, tripped, and fell just as the creature lunged at her. She rolled to the side and missed her by inches, sliding along the wood floor, its claws gouging down grooves. A low growl bubbled from its throat. She scrambled to her feet and ran toward the hallway, but the thing was too fast for her. It sprang again, landing just above the door, where it hung like a gigantic malignant, magnet, uh, malignant spider, staring down at her with its cluster of eyes. His jaws opened slowly, showing a row of fanged teeth spilling greenish drool. A long black tongue flickered out between his jaws as it gurgled and hissed. To her honor, Clary realized that the noise it was making were words. Girl, it hissed. Flesh, blood, to eat. Oh, to eat. It began to slither slowly down the wall. Some part of Clary had passed beyond terror into a sort of icy stillness. The thing was on its feet now, crawling toward her. Backing away, she seized a heavy frame photo off the burrow beside her, herself and her mother and Luke at Coney Island, about to go on the bumper cars, and flung it at the monster. The photograph hit its midsection and bounced off, striking the floor with the sound of shattering glass. The creature didn't seem to notice. It came on toward her, broken glass splintering under its feet, bones to crunch, to suck out the marrow, to drink the veins. Clary's back hit the wall. She could back up no farther. She felt a movement against her hip and nearly jumped out of her skin. Her pocket, plunging her hand inside, she drew out a plastic thing she'd taken from Jace. The sensor was shuddering like a cell phone set to vibrate. The hard material was almost painful hot against her palm. She closed her hand around the sensor just as the creature sprang. The creature hurtled into her, knocking her to the ground, and her head and shoulders slammed against the floor. She twisted to the side. It was too heavy. It was on top of her in oppressive, slimy weight. Slimy weight? Slimy or slimy? I think slimy has an E. Slimy weight that made her want to gag. I think it is slimy. Slimy? Whatever. To eat, it moaned, but it is not allowed too shallow, too savior. The hot breath in her face stank of blood. She couldn't breathe. Her ribs felt like they might shudder. Her arms was pinned between her body and the monster. The center digging into her palm, she twisted, trying to work her hand free. Valentine We'll never know. He said nothing about a girl. Valentine will not be angry. Its lipless mouth twitched as his jaws opened slowly. A wave of stinking breath hot in her face. Clary's hand came free with a scream. She hit him. She hit out at the thing, wanting to smash it, to blind it. She had almost forgotten the sensor as the creature lunged to her face, jaws wide. She jammed the sensor between his teeth and felt hot acid drool coat her wrist and spill in burning drops onto the bare skin of her face and throat. As if from a distance she could hear herself screaming. Looking almost surprised, the creature jerked back. The sensor lodged between two teeth. It growled a thick, angry buzz, and threw its head back. Clary saw it swallow. Uh, Clary saw the movement of his throat. I'm next, she thought. Panic. I'm Suddenly the thing began to twitch, spasming uncontrollably. It rolled off Clary and onto his back, multiple legs. Ugh, it's making me itch, even though I'm itching for some reason because this oh this dog over here, Coco. Hey girl, hey girl. Coco brought in a whole bunch of flies and ants. So I saw a fly, and I do not like. I don't like flies. That's why you see me like, ugh, because it's attracted to light. So I turned the light on so it could circle around the room instead of just come to the computer screen. Because if it comes to the computer screen, I'm smacking it with this book. But book making me itch too. Let's see. Wait. I'm next, she thought, panicked. I said, okay. Rolled off Clary, multiple legs, churning the air. Black fluid poured from his mouth. Gasping for air, Clary rolled over and started to scramble away from the thing. She nearly reached the door when she heard something whistle through the air next to her head. She tried to duck, but it was too late. An object slammed heavily into the back of her skull, and she collapsed forward into blackness. Light stabbed through her eyelids, blue, white, and red. There was a high wailing noise. I'm thinking she in an ambulance, rising in pitch like the scream of terrified children. I mean, child. I've been. It's been 12 minutes. I'm gonna start this timer that I never even got to finish, which had 2 minutes and 34 seconds left. So start that, and when that finishes, I'll see how much time I got on the clock and add like 20 minutes or 15 minutes. I'm at 15 minutes because I was supposed to set a timer. I'm so sorry. I got too into the book. Wailing noise, rising pitch like a scream of a child. Like scream of a terrified child. Clary gagged open her eyes. She was lying on cold, damp grass. The night sky rippled overhead. The pewter, that's what I used to call the computer when I was little. The pewter gleamed of stars, washed out by city lights. Jace knelt beside her. Ooh, he make me tickle. The silver cuffs on his wrist, throwing off sparks of light as he tore the pieces of cloth he had into strips. Don't move. The wailing, the wailing threatened to split her ears in half. Clary turned her head to the side disobediently and was rewarded with a razoring stab of pain that shot down her back. She was lying on a patch of grass beside Jocelyn's carefully tinted rose bushes. The foliage partly hid her view of the street, where a police car, its blue and white light bars flashing, was pulling up to the curb, siren wailing. Already a knot of neighbors had gathered, staring as the car door opened and two blue uniformed officers emerged. The police. She tried to sit up and gagged again, fingers spasming into the damp earth. I told you not to move, Jace hissed. The Ravener demon got you in the back of the neck. It was half dead, so it wasn't much of a sting. But we had to get you to the institute. We have to get you to the institute. Hold on. That thing, that monster, it talked. Clary was shuddering uncontrollably. You've heard a demon talk before. Jason's hands were gentle as he slipped the strip of knotted cloth under her neck and tied it. It was it was it was smeared with something waxy, like the gardener. Okay, there's my timer, and I'm at 15 minutes, so I'll set another 15 minutes. Uh, and start. Yeah, now we got 14 minutes and 57 seconds. But let's see. Uh, Jace's hands were gentle as he slipped a strip of knotted cloth under her neck and tied it. It was smeared with something waxy, like the gardener's slave. I said gardener's slave. Gardener's salve. Her mother salve. I don't know. Her mother used to keep her paint and turpentine, 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 whatever, abused hands soft. The demon in Pandemonium, it looked like a person. It was an Eidolon demon, a shape changer. Why did you just say shapeshifter? Raveners look like they look. Not very attractive, but they're too stupid to care. It said it was going to eat me, but it didn't. You killed it. No one called you Siri. She hauled herself into a. Oh, wait. But it didn't. You killed it. Jace finished the knot and sat back. To Claire's relief, the pain in the back of her neck had faded. She hauled herself into a sitting position. The police are here. Her voice came out like a frog's croak. We should. There's nothing they can do. Somebody probably heard you scream and reported it. 10 to 1, those aren't real police officers. Demons have a way of hiding their tracks. My mom, Clary said, forcing the words through her swollen throat. There's Ravener portion coursing through your veins right now. You'll be dead in an hour if you don't come with me. He got to his feet and held out a hand. She took it and he pulled her upright. Come on. The world tilted. Jay slid a hand around her back, holding her steady. He smelled of dirt, blood, and metal. Can you walk? I think so. She glanced through the densely bloomy bushes. She could see the police coming up the path. One of them, a slim blonde woman, held a flashlight in one hand. As she raised it, Clary saw the hand with fleshness, a skin, a skeleton hand, sharpened to bone, points at the fingertips. Her hand, I told you, they might be demons. Jace glanced at the back of the house. We have to get out of here. Can we go through the alley? Clary shook her head. It's bricked up. There's no way. Her words dissolved into a fit of coughing. She raised her hand to cover her mouth. It came away red. It came away red. She whimpered. He gripped her wrist, turned it over so the white, vulnerable flesh of her inner arm lay bare under the moonlight. Traceries of blue vein mapped the inside of her skin, carrying poisoned blood to her heart, her brain. Clary felt her knees buckle. There was something in Jace's hand, something sharp and silver. She tried to pull her hand back. She tried to pull. Oh, they're gonna fly. Dang it! Dang it! Ah! Why can't bugs leave me alone? Why? Why can't they leave me alone? Let's see, where were we? Clary felt her knees buckle. There was something in Jace's hand, something sharp and silver. She tried to pull her hand back, but his grip was too hard. She felt a stinging kiss against her skin. When he let go, she saw an inked black symbol, like the ones covered his skin, just below the fold of her wrist. This one looked like a set of overlapping circles. What's that supposed to do? It'll hide you, he said temporarily. He slid the thing Clary had thought was a knife back into his belt. It was a long, luminous cylinder as thick around uh as an index finger and tempering to a point. My Stelly, he said. Clary didn't ask what that was. She was busy trying not to fall over. The ground was heaving up and down upon her under her feet. Jace, she said as she crumbled into him. He caught her as if he were used to catching fainting girls, as if he did it every day. Maybe he did. He swung her up into his arms, saying something in her ear that sounded like a covenant. Clary tipped her head back to look at him, but saw only stars cartwheeling across the dark sky overhead. When then the bottle dropped out of everything, and even Jason's arms around her were not enough to keep her from falling. Okay, this is chapter 5. I might come back tomorrow. You know what? I'm gonna read another chapter. Let me see how long it is. Yeah, you know what? Because I might have to break that into 3 pieces. That's a lot of pages. That's chapter 6 right there. That's chapter 5. Sorry, some of them jumped. But I'm gonna pause my timer and I'm gonna start on chapter 5 with this 8 minutes and 44 seconds. I paused down at 44. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna read chapter 5 for 8 minutes and 44 seconds. Then I might come back tomorrow or later on today because I still haven't killed this fly and it's very irritating because I can't see it now because the computer is black, so it might be blending in with the screen. I'm not sure. But bye.